ahead.
All right, hey Matt, right here. Let's talk process. I know that Yale shot 26 more shots than you guys did tonight. Do you feel that your team is taking what you're doing in practice and making it a reality come to the floor? And what are some things that maybe that you still? I know this is building a team 101. I get it.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think I thought our execution was pretty good. We had a stretch there where we turned the ball over a little bit, even though the possessions were the same with rebounds and turnovers. But yeah, I think our guys are trying. We have to do a better job in 50-50 balls and rebounds. We're touching a lot of basketballs and we're not getting a lot. And that's just not our big guys, that's everybody. And I thought we got some key rebounds at the end of the game. But if you're not great at rebounding the basketball and you're not great at keeping the ball out of the paint, you're just going to be behind plays all the time. And it just looked like we were behind plays, especially in the second half, a lot. And we got to do a better job containing it, and we got to do a better job of getting it off the glass. But like a lot of times they don't understand like embracing the physicality of the game. Like you hit people to gain position so you can get the basketball. You don't hit people for the sake of hitting them, and it doesn't gain you an advantage. So like being in a good defensive position and not getting behind plays. But if you're always helping people, you're not in a great blockout position. Like you're constantly helping on the basketball. And I just thought we were helping way too much. And you're going to have to help in basketball. You are, but you can't live in help. At times we were living in help, and then like now we're getting some stops because we were swarming the basketball, and then weak side we're not in a great position. So we just got to keep working. Obviously we're trying to gel a team and get better. I thought our bench really helped us. I thought Myles Colvin offensively and defensively did some good things for us. I thought he came in with a really good mentality in our last game to defend, and he carried that over to this game, and that we need to see that consistency from him, and he'll put himself in a much better position. He put himself in a much better position today, and I thought CJ Cox really helped us, and it was great to see Cam get some opportunities. He hadn't had a lot of opportunities, but he went up and got some key rebounds for us and made a couple big threes. CJ Cox, when Braden turned it over a couple times, came in and got an and one and made a pull up and kind of settled us down there. So good team win, and we just got to stay with it.
Hey Matt, do you think, real quickly, do you think that's just a product of these guys really not? I know they played together some last year.
Yeah.
Edie was out there. Now they're playing. They have to learn how to play without him. Is that
Right.
is that hard?
No, not offensively.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to have guys that can go get the basketball, and we got to have guys contain the dribble better. And it's team defense, but it starts, being able to to guard the basketball. Like that piece, guarding and rebounding is like, they're the constants, man. They're the pillars. You got to do it every day.
Following up on that, you mentioned earlier about overhelping and that costing you guys some rebounds tonight. Is that possibly a product of the focus you've placed on communication? Is that where they're maybe overhelping? Is the focus on communication?
It's not overhelping as much because you have to help when you get beat, right? And so like now, I probably used the wrong frame of words there, but a lot of times guys when you help, aren't going to take tough shots over two people, but sometimes when they do, it allows you to be naked on that backside, and now you don't have enough help there. That's why your guards really got to come down there. But if it's big man rebounds, short shots end up going short. So I think that's more of it than anything. Just like when I'm not going to botch his name. When John, number 4 for them, is a great player, but I botched his name all week, so I'm not going to do it publicly. I don't know why I can't pronounce it, but I can't. I know, they've told me 10 times. So you just gotta know your weaknesses, right? Just know your weaknesses. And so he can make those tough pull-ups, right on him. So he made those 2 tough threes late, but to start the second half, he got away from us and got a couple easy ones. For him, they're easy. And then he made a couple tough ones after that. I'm not mad about playing good defense and he makes a tough shot. I'm not, I don't think he should dribble in place and shoot a 3. I think you got to make him drive and then make those tough, pull-up 2s, and not be able to do that. So I think that piece of it. But sometimes when those guys are that way and they shoot it and you give them a lot of attention, now you're not in the best position with everything else. But they're a well-coached team, man. James is great. he's fabulous. Like they haven't, slipped on a banana peel and got into the NCAA tournament. Like they've earned their way there. They beat Auburn last year as one of the best teams in the country. So like, it is what it is. Like they didn't just have this game here on a neutral court. Like it's stacked against them. That's a real environment. So like, tip your hat to them. Like they played well. They played good enough to win because they tied the possession battle. So I told our guys, I said, you out-rebound people by 10 and you have 5 fewer turnovers. Like, what does this game look like? Right? Well, what's this game look like? You're going to win by 20. And so like, but that didn't happen. And that's a credit to Yale.
So staying with defense, it seems like when you're in help, the back end rotation of the rim seems to be inconsistent.
It's a good way of putting it.
I was being polite.
Yeah.
What's the, is that part of the communication issue?
That's a
too?
lack of awareness. It's not hard, you just crack. So anytime you get behind things, the person you leave open is the person furthest away from the ball. That's why you see skips, that's why you see those long passes, because that's who's normally open. Because when you get behind things, you stop layups. Like you don't get behind things and like, now if you're like, how they get that 3, you're like, well, we were behind the play and we stopped the layup because they're gonna make layups. They're not always gonna make outside shots. So you don't wanna get behind is what you have to work towards. But then you also have to work on your rotations and your cracks and be able to, to get down there and stop that. Now you gotta rotate out of that. So what we call that, no matter what it is, whether it's ball screen D, a baseline drive, it's a double in the post, we just call it cover 2 like football. Because that guy who's out, he has to cover 2 people. So what a lot of people do through that is they make that burn cut on the baseline or they make that 45 cut on the opposite wing. So now while that guy's playing 2, who's out in the opposite corner in the opposite wing, if they stay out, it's easier to cover because you got to read them. But when you get a dive in there from one of those 2 guys, you got to take that dive. And a couple times we didn't take that dive. A couple times they just beat us up top, just whipped us. And now we have that baseline help. Well, then opposite corner's got to crack down and make him throw. And now cover 2's got to take him, then they X out, if you can follow me. So a lot of that happens. You got to be able to play in cover 2 and be able to do it if you're going to get behind plays.
Matt, you've been pretty open about kind of the pluses, minuses of going with Trey at the 5, and obviously that's what you go with down the stretch tonight. Right. So I guess just why was that the right move tonight? But then also just what did you see from that and get what you wanted?
I just thought that with Cam giving us some skill there, in playing behind things, and then Trey being able to navigate, as that 5. I didn't see anybody that, from a defensive standpoint, that was different. So I just thought offensively because I thought Cam could give us some things there. And he got us some key rebounds also. But, and Trey did a good job. We need more rebounds from Trey. We're kind of tapping the basketball at times instead of going to get it. But yeah, that's why I stayed with it. I didn't see a difference. And sometimes you're flipping quarters. But I just thought that the skill of Cam, we missed a couple shots in the first half that we knew would be there in the second half, and then Cam stuck them, and that really helped us right there.
I know you haven't watched the film yet, but does it assuage any of the worries that you've had defensively about going to that lineup, that smaller lineup?
Yeah, all the lineups worried me. That was my issue, right? Like think about it in your head, like, who did you feel like did the best job defensively on our front line? It wasn't like nobody was like terrible, but like who was good? Like they're just there. And like now you got to make a difference. And sometimes guys struggle. Like I've coached guys that have struggled, but if they're going to get you 12, 13, 14 rebounds, you stick with that. Like we didn't have anybody eat the glass. Like our point guard had 9, Cam had 6. But like we got to get some glass eaters. We got to get some guys hitting some people and going to get the basketball. It's good. Like we've played 3 games here. They're good teams, right? Like they're good teams. Like they've been in the NCAA tournament. Yale's been in the NCAA tournament 2 out of the last 4 years. Texas A&M, Corpus Christi's been 2 out of the last 3. I think Northern Kentucky went 3 years ago or 4 years ago, whatever they did. So like we're playing, some teams that I know we're playing here in Mackey Arena, but they're different styles and they're well coached, and now they cause us problems, and that's what you want. You want to be able to solve different problems and try to fix different things as you prepare for your season.
In the back. Coach, you got another great matchup on Friday. A couple really good bigs Alabama has. Does playing those guys in the past, playing Grant Nelson last year and playing Cliff at Rutgers a handful of times, does that really help you prepare for those guys? I know without Zach, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, they're great players, man. Like, they're all great players. The guys that transferred in, the guys that returned, like, his backups could venture out and be a top 25 team. Like, they're real. And so, like, you have to be able to, like, when you face people before, like, Cliff's had some really good games against us, last year, like Mark Sears, like, he looked unbelievable, looked like Damon Stoudemire. Like, the plays he was making and the shots that he was making, and that was a compliment. And, like, they're tough, man. They're tough. You got to be ready. We were ready to go. Like, we could score the basketball last year. Like, we could go, and we knew we had to outscore them because they didn't stop us and we didn't stop them. You try, you do things in a huddle and you feel good about it, but when it gets down to it, I don't know what the final score was, but it seems like 95, 92 or something crazy like that. And we kept with it and we played, but they kept with it and played too. We just had, 2 possessions better.
Spoke to some already, just the big momentum threes. How big of a part of that of your identity is that, being the team that can make the big shot?
Yeah. I think just our balance, like, we have to be able to score the ball from 3-point, from the 3-point arc. But people are going to try to take it away. Like, Fletcher Lawyers, 5 for 7, and 14 points. And you like to get him more shots than that, right? But, like, they're trying to stop him from getting shots too. So it's kind of a credit to him to keep us disciplined and not take shots that aren't good shots for our team. And he's done that. But you still try to give guys of that nature more shots. Tonight, because they are in a drop, Braden got some more looks, especially early. Then they started to adjust a little bit and do some things differently. But no, we need that balance. And with guys making threes, and we have a lot of different guys that can do that. And Braden's such a good playmaker, and just we try to play off of him.
You just talked about this briefly, but I think a lot of people look at your schedule, say Alabama, Auburn, Marquette, you're getting a tough schedule, but you bring in 3 mid-major teams that return a lot of production. They were all finished high in the league. I know setting your schedule isn't necessarily picking your schedule, but how is that part of the equation? Do you look at that when you're trying to set your schedule?
Yeah, without question we do. And I think that's where people get off the grid a little bit because they don't understand, what their nets are going to be, when you start a season. But you can gauge what their nets have been in the past. And that's the best predictor of the future. And it's not always 100% there, but like when you gauge that, like no one's walking out of here thinking Yale's not having a good season, right? Like no one walked out of here thinking Texas A&M Corpus Christi's not going to be the top of their league. Like Northern Kentucky just didn't, they hit a rut scoring the basketball, but Northern Kentucky's got an unbelievable matchup zone. So we saw this style, we saw Northern Kentucky's matchup zone, and then Texas A&M Corpus Christi shot the passing lanes, they were aggressive, they turned us over. And so like that's the thing that you want. You want those challenges while still being able to win. What coaches get scared of is those losses. They're like, man, I don't want to play them. So they just dip about 100 points in the net. So instead of playing 184, they play 284. And then they complain about their seed, or they complain about getting on the bubble and not getting in when they made the mistake in gym. And it's harder, man. I'll give, like the credit to people that kind of keep doing it, that are on that fringe from a talent standpoint, because it is harder because they're going into the portal and they're collecting, talent, but they don't know how that talent's going to mesh. The guys that get the best players, they got a better gauge. The people that are in tier 2 and tier 3, now they got to really work towards, hey, like, I don't want to have this tough loss or whatever, but like, that's how when you sit there and you say, like, how have you been a top 5 seed for 8 straight years or whatever our stat is? I think a part of it is that. Now you got to go out, and beat the real people too. So like that's, for us, like Caleb's our only senior. Caleb's never lost a non-conference game. It's a hell of a stat. At the time, it's not like the best like in the country. It's like from a history standpoint, I think it's 38 now. So that's it's a big statement. And so also I think we haven't gotten to that number with weak schedules. We've gotten to that number. So even if you lose some games, like against the people that you mentioned, it's like, hey, like, they're not gonna bang you for it when it comes Selection Sunday. They're not getting you for that. You know, they're getting you for like a really, really tough loss. Like, you know, if Yale beats you here, like, sure, you wanna win the game, and it doesn't help you when you lose it, but they're gonna be great this year. And so, like, but it's hard to do. I'll sit there as a coach, and it took me a long time to get to that point. But like the Mark Few and the Tom Izzo style of scheduling, like they've had years where they just rolled. They've had years where they take some hits, but when it comes to conference time and getting to the NCAA tournament, I think proof is in the pudding there that they're really, you know, prepared. And so we'll see. Like, we'll see how our schedule goes right here. We win them all, we lose them all, we split them. Like, whatever you do, you just got to keep getting better and keep fighting.
Good.
It's a good question.
You mentioned a little bit earlier Braden's playmaking ability. He seems to have some moments where he kind of leaves his feet and gets stuck in the air.
Yes.
But at the same time, he has a tendency to make some really high-level plays and skip passes.
Right.
How do you find a middle ground for him that works best for you and
Right.
you and the team?
Well, when you jump and you make passes coming off of ball screens that you do like 20, 30, 40, 50 times a day in practice, like you live with it. But when you jump, when you cross half court, you don't. Right? Right? So that's not a basketball play. That wasn't a basketball play. And so then when he throws the ball somebody up the sideline and they're not looking, it's not a basketball play because you don't throw the bodies, you throw the eyes. And so, like, those things, and you know, and we hold him at a different level because he's special when it comes to passing. Like, he doesn't like need to turn it over. Like, you know, PJ's done a great job for us offensively, and PJ would go 2 weeks without turning it over. Different players. And then I'd say, hey man, I didn't bring you here to turn the basketball over. And he'd be like, Coach, I've had 1 turnover in the last 5 games. I said, I don't give a damn. Don't turn the ball over. You're not here to turn the ball over. You're here to take care of the basketball and run our team. And they both have different responsibilities, but when guys make basketball plays and they're trying to make the right play and they turn it over, and you just got to be positive with them and stay with them. But when they do some things that are screwy and, you know, they don't have discipline that they could do in their sleep, you know, that's where you got to hold them accountable and say, like, because think about if he doesn't make those 2 plays, then he gets took right away because he was thinking about those 2 plays. Like, you got to move to the next play. Like, he's a fabulous player. He's fabulous. Best point guard I've been around. But, like, who cares? You can't change that shit. Play's over. Guard your man. Keep him out of the paint. He's still thinking about that. So the guy I played for used to call, like, don't compound your mistakes. You make 1 mistake and let it stand. Let that 1 stand. You got it. You made a mistake. Don't make 2 or 3. Like, don't be emotionally drunk. Like, hang in there.
Kind of going off of that, mistake that maybe was to no fault of his own. Myles gets called for on the screen, and whether it was the right call or the wrong call, that could have changed
It was a wrong call.
It could have changed the game. And instead, I think you get a takeaway after the timeout. Cam gets to the line, Braden steals the inbounds pass, and you get 4 points out of it.
Yeah.
When you talk about a winning team over years, how much of that kind of mentality where you don't let the mistake affect the next play?
And that's what you want right there. Like him getting that steal and that basket right there, it was a huge play for us. It got it to 4 possessions. And then there was still stuff happening at the end of the game because they made plays, but like, you know, that was huge. Like that was a huge play right there. But moving to the next play, like now you get a call that goes against you. And as you guys all know, like we got the next 2. And I don't know if they were ours, but we got them. You know, and so that's the way the game floats sometimes when things of that nature happens. When you have the basketball and you're officiating and you've got to deal with a ball screen, that's the why they changed the rule and they go to the clock on 20 seconds for a 10-second count. Because what they used to have was you're reffing and you got the count, I got the ball, and I got the screen. It's impossible. It's impossible to referee. So they changed it to where it's there. So I got to watch you guard the basketball, and I got to watch this screen be legal. And that's why you need help from the other guy. He's got to be able to call. That's why you'll see fouls, and those guys will be like, I just didn't see it, because you're dealing with the ball and you're not dealing with the screen. When you can back up, a lot of times when you can back up and you're further away from it, you'll see it more clearly than when you're on top of it. I know that makes sense to you guys, but it's true. And so, like, I think that's just what happened there. So it was a tough one for him. It went bang, bang. I thought the kid from Yale sold it and did a good job of selling it. By the way, he's a hell of a defensive player. I've never seen guys go under ball screens and still find people. Like when you go under, then you gotta go under twice, you're cooked. Like you are cooked, like Braden's shooting that. That joker was running underneath and finding him every time. Like, I mean, he is a very good defensive player.
We asked Trey about it, the 50 in the paint points. He said, you know, that number's a concern. I'm wondering, is that something that you're going to be writing on the whiteboard? I mean, what's the weight of that number for you?
When you're talking about them scoring 50 points in the second half?
50 points in the paint, sorry.
50 points in the paint, okay. Yeah, they lived in the paint. They lived in the paint. You know, some of it's ball screen defense, some of it's containing the basketball. Some of it was, I thought in the first half they just kept getting in the middle of the floor. I thought our ball screen defense, we switched some things up to where when we had Cam, we switched it, but then they had the post-up mismatch, and that caused us a little bit of problems too. And so like we came out and hedged some of them, and they went right to that guy, and then we would just X out. But we got to do a better job of keeping the ball out of the paint. Period. So we'll go back and watch tape, and we'll work on that. But Alabama's not going to run what Yale run. So like I think if we had to play Yale again, we could be better in that area, but we're not going to play them again. So, but like yeah, it's a concern, no question. But it was a concern before this game.
So there was a really important defensive rebound Myles got in the second half in traffic.
Yes.
And then there was a baseline inbound play where he bottled up Koulikitis. Have you seen like a new concentration
You got it right the second time.
level from him? Have you seen more
Yes.
urgency?
Yes.
Have you seen him more engaged in some of the substantive stuff you need from him?
No question. I didn't think he was, I told him the other day in the office, you scored 14 in the first game and you scored 5 in the second game, and you were so much better in helping us win in the second game. And tonight I thought he had a balance of both. He took what came his way offensively, but I thought he was great defensively. I thought he was a big part of the game. He made it really hard on John. See how I did that, New? The kid's a great player, man. I want to make sure that that's out there, because he's got a chance, man. Anybody that can strike like that, you got a chance to make a lot of money. You got a chance to make a lot of money if you graduate from Yale too. So he's in the great catbird seat, right? 2 dreams, man. You got to have a dream for education. You got to have a dream for basketball, and he's got both of them. So he's got a bright future. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, coach.